All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining this meeting. We really appreciate you attending tonight, taking time out of your busy schedule. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We're going to talk about the energetic intelligence, and we have Janelle Warrington, is a world-class frequency coach and energy mentor for visionary professionals, gifted intuitives, and emerging leaders. She has over 25 years of experience and helps clients clear subconscious blocks, stabilize their field, and lead from clarity rather than distortion. That's awesome. Her work blends energetic precision, ancestral activation, and deep perceptual insight into supporting clients and reconnecting with the intelligence of their own energy. She was raised around horses and trained as a healer through intuitive and experiential methods. Janelle brings a grounded and powerful presence to every conversation, which I'm looking forward to tonight. She now teaches others to develop what she calls energetic intelligence, the ability to read, work with, and create from frequency. So thank you for being here, Janelle, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dan. It is a privilege to sit down with you all. I feel like, okay, let's grab our coffee. Let's get down to business. Let's make this a conversation. I want to hear from you as well. I'm going to share with you some thoughts and ideas around energy intelligence. What's this look like? What am I referring to when I'm talking to that? And how can you get there? And you all have a level of it, I am sure. How can we grow from where you are to get through and accomplish what you're looking to accomplish in your life right now? Okay, so hi, my name is Janelle, and I'm here to talk about energy intelligence. I'm an energy healer and I'm an energy coach, and my first tutors were horses. I was a professional horse trainer over 25 years ago, and they were the ones that showed me and brought me back to who I am. They were basically saying, as I worked with them in my indoor arena, they said, Janelle, let me introduce you back to you. And we all have that space that is our most authentic us. And there's a part of us that knows all the answers. So we're going to dive into this and let me walk with you in getting there. And again, if you keep your questions, we're going to talk through those. If they pop up while I'm talking, let's answer them on the fly. Because one thing I've observed that these meetings are about, yes, I have something to bring that I have felt that has been on my heart. It's a space I've been personally growing in, and it's a space I see as a collective we are being called to grow into it because of the way we're being asked to work now. It's shifting, it's changing, and we can embrace this. And oh my goodness, when we do, it is so empowering. Okay, so but this conversation is about also about what your information, whoever, however you see this, how do you see yourself being guided? How do you connect to that language that's in your space? So if you're connecting to creator energy, source, universe, your higher self, or you're still figuring that out, all of that is just fine. And so, however you see this, this applies the same way. It's a principle that we can apply to our lives right now. How do we interpret energy? How do we interpret situations around us? And I want to bring the information that all that guides you wants you to hear for your next best step, your next best connection, your best aha that you've been asking for. Things that we ask for, things that we seek are not ignored. They are heard. And that's the platform and the space that I hold for each of you. Okay. All right, here we go. So, um, in the space of learning, I have a thing that's kind of a little crazy to say, but I love chocolate cake. I love death by chocolate cake. If the chocolate is so rich that you really cannot get through it without a good cup of coffee, it's not good enough chocolate for me. So it's got to be death by chocolate cake. And I love chocolate cake. So does anybody here have a recipe that you would say, oh, yeah, I got the recipe for you, Janelle. This recipe will take you out at the knees and you will love every minute of it. You'll need a big cup of coffee. Anybody have a death by chocolate recipe that they would say, oh, I would totally share with you? And you don't have to. I was just curious. Yeah. Okay. So I was talking to a group of people, and so far I've got one of my favorite recipes from them. And they said, oh, yeah, Janelle, I have got, she was from the South, and she's like, this chocolate cake is amazing. You're going to love it. And I said, okay, sign me up, put it, here's my email address, send that to me. What's it about? It's about she can know something that I didn't know. She knew something I didn't know. She is an intelligent person who is sharing with another intelligent person something that she knew, but I didn't, but I wanted it for real. So if you had a recipe, I would for real get this from you. Sharing information, we learn from each other. We learn from each other. We learn from others. We seek what someone knows, and one intelligent person can share with another intelligent person, and we grow together. And I believe you are intelligent people. So let me share with you something I believe. You are here for something bigger than just existing. You are here in part of a bigger purpose than just putting your time in. And if you agree with me, put a big capital yes in the chat so that I know I'm in the right room. I saw a hand up, Kate. That must have been a big capital yes. Thank you for that. Yes, I'm in the right room. Okay, then let's get the party started. We are here for a purpose. We are here to do something and bring value, to start to others, to be a part of a life that lights us up, and then we can pass that fire on. I experienced that. The first time I experienced that was I was I was a horse trainer, I was a professional horse trainer, and then I really got to start seeing how I worked intuitively. They started opening up things that I had shut down. So when healing them, working with acupuncturists, herbalists, body workers, and so on. When we started healing horses, the horses turned around and started showing me what I had shut down because I didn't understand it. When I was a child, I shut that down because it confused me. Unintentional. Like this hindsight's 2020. But at the time, I didn't realize why I could walk into a room and have a sense of what was going on. How is that even possible? No one talked about it. Why was it that when people were with me, they felt amazing, but I felt totally drained at the end of it? Why? I didn't know. And I'm highly dyslexic with an auditory processing disorder. And what all this confusion of being in school, so it's just another layer, was I stepped into a classroom and all that what I heard was just noise. And I didn't understand what was wrong with me. And then I went to read and learn to read, and it was just a scramble of confusion. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I am so amped up that this is this, and nobody's talking about it. When I started to work with the horses, they said, I get it. I get you. And they started opening that up, and pieces that I locked away with keys because they caused me so much pain were able to be seen and understood for the first time in years. Let me introduce you to you and the journey work and the began 25-ish years ago now or more, to understand who you are as an intuitive, however that translates to you, and who you are in your individual gifts and how those two work together. I was walking through driving through. I had a meeting. I do a lot of speaking engagements, and one of the hats that I wore. And so I was a horse trainer for several years, 15 years. Felt guidance say it's time to change. So I changed hats and I went and studied and became a learning specialist. I want to know how this brain works. You got how you get the information into your brain. Well, that's your learning style. But once it's in there, what happens to it? So I dove into that study and let's talk about the brain and how it puts pieces together that cause learning and so on. So I dove into that. That's been 14, nearly 15 years ago, coming up soon. I'm not old to have two big chapters like that. Isn't that crazy? Do you ever stop and think about that? It's like, how did that happen? So I'm studying the mind, I'm working, and so I'm speaking to different school groups and parent groups, and I'm on my way. I'm in Portland. I'm on my way into a school deep into the heart of Portland, Oregon, and I don't know my way. So good old GPS. What would we do without GPS? I wouldn't find anything, truthfully. So in the cities anyway. So I'm following this GPS like my life depends on it because I kind of feel like it does because I am never going to get out if I don't have it. So I'm following it and it sends me on this road and it sends me on this road. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I do, and I've been in Portland some, so I have kind of a sense and I'm thinking, wow, this is starting to kind of not feel right. And it's taking me on this road and it just all these turns. And I'm like, this is not right. But the GPS said go that way. So I'm trusting it. And I land at this building. I'm like, I'm parked in the parking lot and I'm like, this is not right. This is not right. This is not a school. It's some warehouse. I'm like, oh my goodness. And now I'm late. I am supposed to be out of school speaking to a group of people, and the meeting has started, and I'm sitting at a warehouse going, what in the world happened? So I'm sheepishly calling up the director of the principal of the school, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed and I'm so sorry. And honestly, quite confused how I landed here. Well, years ago, the school was in that building, and the information or the information, they tried to get it out of the system, but they just couldn't, for whatever the reasons, they couldn't clear it out of the system. And occasionally when people Google this school, it takes them to the old location. I said, oh wow, that is not convenient at all. Our heart, our most authentic space, knows is our GPS. It knows the way to go. We are an energetic being having a physical experience. And the energetic part of us has memory. We have memory of different experiences that haven't happened in this space, in this present time on the planet. We also have our genetic memory. We have epigenetics and we have genetic memory. So my family was our French, and during the 100-Year War with England, France and England, they were part of that. And I was going through a healing session with, actually, I was going through I was having neck issues from being bucked off one too many times. And I was going to a physical therapist, and she's highly intuitive. This is probably 12 years, 13 years ago, highly intuitive. And she's working on my neck and she goes, stop, 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 stop. She goes, this isn't the issue. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, your body, she goes, are you open to kind of a different perspective? And I said, oh yeah, talk about different perspectives. I'm there. She goes, okay, here's the deal. She said, you're holding on to something huge that isn't you. I was like, okay. I get it. She goes, you're holding on. She goes, I'm just going to start asking and tapping in. And she was a person of faith. And she just started asking, in her words, she was asking God to guide her to find, what is this lady hanging on to? So she laid me out flat and she just started doing what she does. And she put her hand on my belly, and my, like right below my belly button, went like a rock. And I started crying, just bucket loads. And I started getting pictures of people in prisons, but it was like old school and all that. I mean, this wasn't right now. And I'm like, why would this be in my body? She said, you have a genetic memory that's ready to be seen right now. It's ready to be cleared from your physical body and your energy body. And as she did her work and she did her clearing, the relief in my entire person was, I don't have words. It was like somebody did a pressure wash in a gentle way through my entire digestive area, and it felt so much lighter. Like I was like, how is that even possible? But it is possible. These this in what if people experience trauma that's big enough at the time, the body hangs on to that frequency. It's frequency. If people experience a type of trauma over extended periods of time, the body hangs on to that frequency, that experience. And we can intellectually clear and go through it. So when I was going through school and I was struggling so much, and it was day after day after day, that was trauma over a period of time that got stored into my body. And it's a frequency. Trauma is a frequency. What do you mean a frequency? Everything's a frequency. Sound is a frequency. Color is a frequency. We can measure these things. Emotions, people have figured out that's a frequency. Everything has a frequency. And as we experience things that are supportive to us and things that would be heavy, like my dyslexia experience, that was stored in my body. So that frequency that's in our body messes with our GPS. It's a frequency. It's like putting mud on a guitar string. I can tune the guitar, but if the mud doesn't get taken off, will I be able to make a clean sound? No. So to be able to say, okay, my heart is my GPS, but why did I land at the wrong school? Like, why did I land at that building or that place that wasn't correct? Because I had a signature or signatures, I had frequencies that weren't in a line or really even mine, or the trauma from school wasn't needing to be hung on to anymore. That wasn't information that was who I really was. And that will mess with how we read information, how we translate information. You guys following me? Yeah? Okay. So, what do we do about that? Because we're talking about reading and understanding information. And energy intelligence is knowing how to interpret guidance, situational circumstances, which are also guidance. You're always being guided. How do we interpret that? Okay, so getting back to the heart. Our heart is our compass, our energy that has been here and for a long time. It knows, our higher self knows the answer. It knows the way. It's had lots of experience. It is in us. But it can be distorted by this external frequencies that are not ours. So if I get an opportunity to speak on this TEDx show, let's say, and I feel into my heart and I go, oh no, that's not in alignment with me, because I feel it and I feel it. It's not in alignment with me. If I have information in there that is not mine necessarily, or it's trauma based, am I getting a clear and accurate signal of, is this aligned with me or is this not? No, or maybe. And so people that I've worked with that have struggled with trusting their gut or trusting their intuition, this has been one of the biggest players. We need to get down and start finding what frequencies are yours and what aren't yours. What frequencies are based on traumatic experiences, and let's transmute those. Transmute means just shifting one frequency to another, and they're transmutable. So that was the work I did. I got into my heart and I said, okay, yes, I struggled in school. You better believe that's a truth. We're not trying to lie to ourselves. Our brain will not buy it, nor will our body, and it will not shift. Because I am totally for doing the limiting belief work, rewriting, doing mantras. There's such a role, positive role that plays in us. But what it doesn't do, well, it will over a long period of time. So, what's faster is to get down to the root. Why does that struggle? Why does this even exist? Let's get to the root of it, because I can go into my yard and pick dandelions all day. But if I don't get to the tap root, that will keep existing. The flowers will just keep coming. So let's get down to the root of it. Why does the challenge exist? Why is the confusion existing? When I would go to speak my truth, because I had a lot of opinions, I didn't struggle with opinions. And I didn't struggle with talking about certain things, but there were a few key points that when I went to share my truth about, I could not find words. So I could practice saying what I needed to say. I could practice, get speech lessons. I could do all sorts of things. But it wasn't the root. What was the root was I had trauma still in me. So when we go back to the little girl that was experiencing this day after day after day trauma, we can transition the feeling into a love feeling. There's a technique and a process that's so effective that we can do on these pieces of our lives. We still have the memory, but when we shift the energy in it from pain or guilt or shame or fear or all the above, when we shift that, all of a sudden we have a new lens that we look through. If I try to stay in that lens and rework my thinking, I'm still in that energy frequency. When we shift the frequency, we elevate out of the pain, guilt, shame space, and we're looking at that scenario through a whole new understanding. I asked, I asked God, why can't I be healed? Heal me. I know you can. I knew it. But why didn't it happen as I'm sitting there in crocodile tears, ugly tears, third grade, and I can barely read. I can't spell. I said, seriously, what is up with this? What I learned when I went through and did the healing was that I was asking something to be fixed that wasn't broke. I was caught up in the struggle, in the fear of it, in the shame of it, but I didn't need fixed. I needed to understand who I was. So if I would have been fixed, I would have had to been broken. But my new perspective is, Janelle, you are an perceptually gifted individual, and I see and feel and know the world through a whole different lens. And that's the gift in being me. And it caused these dyslexic symptoms, which I now know how to work with. And it's no big deal at all. So, healing step one is healing the frequencies that are ready to shift in you. That aligns you to you. Now that frequency is me. I'm an intuitive, gifted healer, and I can see, know things that's my normal. And I'm okay with that. And that's my truth. And I can operate and I see and understand and navigate through that truth. So, what's your truth? And what's blocking? Some of you might know what's blocking that GPS in you? What's scrambling and landing you at a warehouse in the middle of some part of town? And you're like, whoa, I just missed that opportunity again. What the heck? Why is this always happening? Well, there's a reason, and it's totally shiftable. Okay. The other part I want to bring in here is that to step out of the pack, and I was in a meeting. I had this so guided thing that happened. So one of the people I really like, leadership leaders, is John Maxwell, and he's been in leadership for a long, long time, written lots of books. And this email landed in my inbox and in 30 minutes there was going to be a small group that got to sit down with him and ask him questions. And I went, how the heck did that land in my box? I am so there. And so I jump in and he's talking. He'd introduced a thought that he'd been working on. He goes, how do you step out of the pack? How do you set yourself apart from the sea of people that are doing what you do? He goes, you align with your heart. And he goes, but I'm not sure how to teach you right now how to do that. And I'm like, I know the answer to that one. Let me go. But he's like, how do you step away from the pack? He said, by aligning with your heart. How do you make a difference? How do you get seen? How do you find that success in what you want to build, do, create? By being unique. By being unique. Do you know that every single one of us is unique? If I look over the fence and I think, oh, I see how so-and-so is doing that job, I will mimic that. You just stepped out of unique. Now we can learn principles from each other. I can learn how to make a killer chocolate cake from somebody. But I don't want to say, oh, that's how it's done. I don't want to lose my unique. How and what's that mean and what's that look like? It's not just who you are in your gifts, as far as you're a writer, you're a speaker, you're inventive, what's your gift set? You have the gift of serving others, and you're compassionate. What are your gifts? You're a singer, you're a dancer. Those are your gifts. But then you're an intuitive gifted person as well. Have you tapped into that? That is a whole other set of gears in your race car. You want to kick some serious booty in the field that you operate in? Tap in and master and expand. If you're already aware that, yeah, I'm intuitive and I operate like this, go next level. You've got we're just scratching the surface of what you and I can do. Just starting to know what we can know. We've studied so much over here that we have missed out on this beautiful side of us that is intuitive. You see, know, feel like nobody else. I cannot feel, see, know like Linda does. She is completely unique, and so is every one of you. So when we step into that curiosity, and all we have to do is start to be curious, and all of a sudden we're going to see things, know things, feel things, and we're like, oh, wow, what does that mean? Well, then you need to work with me or somebody like me to learn to interpret what does that mean. But it's talking to you once we put that question out there. So I was working with a gentleman. He's an entrepreneur that works with big businesses to solve problems. He's a problem solver, and he's incredible at it. But got stuck, reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, I am stuck. What in the world? I just lost 85% of my clients. What has just happened? Panic, anxiety. I mean, it was big, a big deal. And his family relies on him for the income. I mean, it was a big deal. And so we're talking and he's debriefing with me. He goes into a room to problem solve, and he's incredible at it. And he sits in this chair where the problem exists, and he feels, hears, smells, heart feels, eyes, all of his senses go and engages. And through that, not intellectually, but through here, all of that gathers data, and he goes, this is the problem. And they're looking at him like, how the heck did you come up with that? He has learned to tap into his intuitive side. And it's not just one look. It looks like so many different things for different people. And the better we get at it, you will set yourself apart. So we heal here. We get to know and we explore how we work. What does it look like, feel like, sense like for you? I was working with a gentleman yesterday. He's from the East Coast as well. And he was sharing with me, I said, and he's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur, and he has a goal that he's set with me. And I said, okay, talk to me about how you work. He can sense, he sets a timer in his mind, and he just has a knowing when it's 20 minutes is up. He has a sense. He can feel when something is right. He has a feel with his hands, but it's an internal knowing when something is yes, go there. And he's highly successful, crazy successful because of this. So knowing this side of us separates us, it makes us even that next level unique. So we're moving that step faster. You'll know where to go. An innovative idea will pop in at the right time. You will have an answer for somebody that you would think, wow, I wouldn't really know that, would I? Yeah, you don't know in your physical mind, but your intuitive self knows how to read what's right for them or what answer could be given. So depending on what you're working in, where are you working? What do you do? That intuitive side is there to work with you to make you quicker, faster, smarter. Then there's the scenarios and the last piece. And then I want you guys to be thinking of some good questions for me. Okay, think of some toughies. Think of where you're at, where you're working, and let's debrief that. And if it's, and find some answers for you, whatever. Let's discuss this. So when we also have the scenarios and the events around us and knowing how to read that. How do I read the events around me? So a gal called me up a couple weeks ago, and she, in her past, I've known her for a few years, in her past, a lot of trauma, and she's been healing through layers and layers. She's getting down to that most, her desire when she started talking to me was, I want to get down to that most authentic self. I have been through so much that this has got to go, and I want to get down to me. So I said, okay, let's just see how guidance is guiding you to do this. So we started the work in this layers and layers, and the beautiful healing and gifts are showing up for her, because part of healing, gifts start showing up for us. And she's got some brilliant gifts. The other day she calls me and she goes, all hell has broke loose in my life. Everything has crumbled, and it in all rights and purposes it had. Like literally these crazy circumstances, absolute chaos. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't engage. Don't engage in the chaos. This isn't you. This is of the old you. When we heal and grow, we shift up through, like Jack and the Beanstalk, the stalk grew up through the clouds and up into another world. When we heal, we shift through where we were, and it can look like the same. Oh my gosh, I thought I dealt with this already. I thought, I thought I'd healed all this. What the heck is going on? You're growing through it. Look at that chaos around you and go, no, that's not mine. If we engage it, try to solve it, try to figure out why I'm in this space, if I need to, and we just get engaged in that, we're going to bring that frequency back into our space. Look at it, deal with what you have to deal with, but no, that's the old you. That's what you're moving from. And that's a sign to you that you are past that. And that's a step of faith because it won't feel like it. At the moment, it won't feel like it. Then when you shove through, I got a call and she said, okay, it all resolved. It resolved itself. She did not engage with it. She dealt with what she had to, but she didn't engage arm wrestle with it. She didn't get anxious about it. She just allowed it to herself to pass through, and it resolved. The gentleman who lost 85% of his clients, he was given all these different opportunities, but he's like, that he started and he goes, no, that's not right. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, and he was feeling so anxious because he's like, I know I have to do something. What's wrong with me? And I said, let's take another look. What's right with you? So we did some sessions, we did some healing, we got some balancing. It was out of whack a little bit. So we did some balancing and some clearing. He got a call from a business opportunity that gives him time, the financial freedom to pursue what he's been wanting to pursue. So it was the perfect fit. All these other opportunities look great on paper, but they were not in line with him. So that angst he felt was actually his guidance saying, not right. That's not right. And the internal battle was, I must be failing terrible. I'm not jumping in on any of these opportunities. Really, seriously, what's wrong with me? And I think that's kind of the feedback he was getting from others around him. What's wrong with you? But it was actually, what's right with you? He was being completely guided by his internal compass. And when it was the right opportunity, it landed. He's like, yes, he's on fire. He can't wait to get up in the morning. He is on his track. It's in alignment. So, learning to read the energy. One, is your compass clean? Two, are you working with all of the compass? Are you embracing all parts of you? Your physical gifts, your intuitive gifts. And three, are you interpreting what you're observing around you accurately? I thought I was broke when actually I was gifted. This individual that I was talking about that lost his clients, he was totally on the money with knowing what was fitting him, but didn't understand it at the time. I've had feelings that I was like, man, I'm procrastinating on this project. What in the world? Why can't I get my act together here and get this done? I got another perspective and it's like, no, I wasn't supposed to get that done yet. I was being guided. I wasn't procrastinating. There wasn't something that I needed to do better. I didn't need to go, do some work on myself. I was being guided. So that's plays in this. These three parts all play in moving quicker, faster, smarter, so that we're making decisions that are totally in alignment with who we are, so that we are actually in the right place, if you will, to receive that phone call that says, hey, I've got this opportunity for you. And it was totally in alignment with them. But to be in those places, we need to clean up the compass and we need to engage with all of us, the whole of us. We need to work at and grow in understanding that all of us. So I'm going to open it up for some questions. I see some wheels turning. I can see some wheels and I can feel some wheels. So go ahead and come if you want to just type it in the chat and or come off, unmute and talk to me.
I guess I should have written my question down because I have forgot it already. I think, can you hear me?
I can. You're coming through
Okay.
well.
I think it was mostly when you were talking about um like the frequencies, and I don't get how you can change it, is I guess what I was
Isn't that
wondering.
interesting? Thank
Yeah.
you for asking that, Mia. That's a good question. So if you bring to a piano, if you bring a true C chord, like one of those U-shaped tuning forks things, and it's a true C, and you strike that and you hold it up to the piano, you will start those strings to vibrate, and you'll hear the piano go ooh, So you can tune with another frequency.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So with that principle in play, the highest frequency that we have, the purest, highest vibrating frequency that we have is love. When we tap into the purest form of love beyond our human ability, and we tap into that and we allow that to come into a place where, like, if I feel into my body, ooh, it feels a little out of whack there, or it feels heavy, or it feels hollow, whatever the sensation may be for somebody, or you just may have a knowing. And you bring that purest form of love into that space, it will raise the frequency of that space.
Okay.
Okay.
So like if you're thinking about it and then you bring in that frequency, it'll kind of tune it to love. Is that what you're kind of saying?
That's what I'm saying. And it can get a little more involved because some of us have, it depends on the specific, right? Because each specific event may require some different steps and techniques
Yeah.
to help it shift. But in its basic principle, that's what we're doing. We're bringing that purest love in and we're allowing that space to tune up. And something, yeah, and something that it may be enough and sometimes it's still not enough, but I will like some of the pain trauma that I've experienced, I visualized or had an intent. I'm visual, so that works for me, but not everybody's visual. So you do what matches you. Set an intention, and I envisioned a glass jar or so a container, and I put the trauma, the pain in there, and then I just allowed the love to just fill that jar and hold it till it felt lighter. And that worked for a lot of the pieces that I was personally working through. And then there's some other techniques, there's some cord cutting, there's some other things that we can do that we are asked to do. The cool thing in the healing process is that as we learn to heal this, as we learn to shift trauma into a love space, we're also learning about who we are intuitively. So in the journey, it's there on purpose. So if we're just aware that, oh my gosh, I'm going to learn about myself as this shifts, then guidance is going, oh, you don't need that anymore. You've learned that about yourself. You've learned that you sense, see, know whatever's going to be shown to you. Let's let that go. It's there for a reason to teach us.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say something if I can.
Okay, Dan.
And we have some questions in the chat, so after I speak, you can answer those.
Okay.
Yeah, how I associate frequency when you said love, like, for me, it's emotion. Like I associate frequency with emotion. So when I'm feeling, uh, let's say, when I'm thinking about certain things, like if I say I'm abundant, I am greatness, and I am love, therefore I deserve, manifest, and attract abundance, greatness, and love. I feel a feeling that comes into me that really kind of makes me excited about that. And I kind of associate that feeling with a frequency. And that frequency elevates me to a higher level, so to speak. When I do the opposite, if I'm having going through like a hard time and I'm feeling like maybe frustrated, I feel that feeling and I feel like I'm vibrating at a lower frequency. Would you say that basically, or would you agree, or is there something that I'm missing that frequency is associated with the emotions that you're feeling, or is it something else?
That's directed to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. It it is associated with emotion. And I find that usually if myself or people that I'm working with are feeling anxious or stuck or fearful or shame or guilt or self-doubt, that there's a root to why. And if when I want to shift that effect, I need to shift, like you said, that joy, bring in the joy, bring in the thoughts of gratitude. I mean, the gratitude's huge. And get down to why that existed in the first place. Where's the root? And when we shift the root, then the other shifts so much quicker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. And that's why sound therapies, it's a frequency. Why does sound therapy, sound bowls, gongs and things, why are they so supportive? Singing bowls. It's because they are different frequencies and they go in our bodies and they break it up. They blow it up. They turn it to dust, if you will. Poof. So that is one way of shifting trauma as well. And yeah, it's a supportive technique. Color, you've heard of color therapy. Color is frequency. Pictures are frequency, hold frequency. But the key is to get to the root. Yeah. Okay. We've got some. Michelle, share effective steps. Share effective steps that explain how to release trapped emotions in the body that may be causing illness. Boy, they do cause illness for sure. Plus, reversing cognitive dissonance and functional freeze. Well, how long do you have? We can go, there's answers to that for sure. Share effective steps that explain how to release trapped emotions in the body that may be causing not. Yeah, boy, trapped emotions cause illness. Like I had all that stuck in my gut and it was I was blaming it on being bucked off, which didn't help because that was a place of where energy, if you work with Chinese medicine at all and being able to, get meridians flowing and energy flowing, where you have physical energies, the energy will get stuck. What was causing it though, why it really was stuck wasn't because of the horse accidents. It was because of the trauma in my gut causing inflammation, and the inflammation was getting stuck there. So when I healed the yeah, and it comes in layers. So there's rarely a one-time fixes everything, because I don't think our physical body could handle it coming, all the trauma that we do hold coming out instantly. But we do tend to hold it in our gut, and therefore our gut doesn't digest as well as it should or could, and we get inflammation, we get allergies, we get all sorts of symptoms. And that's where Dan has a really cool, I don't know if you've heard him talk about it, but he's got a test where working with him, and he can test how your microbiome from the start of it to the end of it, how it is, and if it's functioning properly and is the proper type of um, wow, I lost the word. Microbiome is the only thing that came in. But Dan, what's in our system? I lost the word.
That's your microbiome. So
Okay.
different strains of probiotics,
They are the probiotics.
or
Yeah.
basically, more importantly, prebiotics is really what we should be focusing on to feed those microbiome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here because that word just totally left my brain. And why often can't one of the players that can make that off is that I've stored different memories in and around that digestive. So when I clear the energy from there in that area, then that's allowed to actually, because there's a rhythm within our guts. There's the whole nervous system that speaks to that gut area. There's a rhythm to it and energy to it. And if I have stored trauma there, it will knock it out of whack. So when we remove that, then that can start functioning optimally, which then clears up, supported with, because we're not just energy, we're also a physical body. So supported with a test like what Dan offers, with nutritional support and so on. And then with the mental work that we'll do, getting our thoughts to align. We want our thoughts to align with our heart. We often try to make our heart align to our thoughts, but it really needs to be the other way. So working in all of us heals our physical body. So some steps to doing and releasing. One of the things that can be done, I can share this with you, is feel in with the intention. So just do some deep breathing. Now, this is not medical advice. So don't add or take anything away without checking with your healthcare provider first. This is an information share. I tap into, I set the intention, I do some deep breathing. I release just a little bit slower than when I breathe in, and then I do 3 nice big breaths and nice, easy, slow exhales. And then I just take with the intention, today, for the highest and best, is there anything stuck in my body, any energy that's ready to go? And I just kind of go through. Okay, I actually have some right there. So I just visualize, and I just lovingly visualize love going around that ball, and I allow that to go. And I send it into creator space. You use your language. Send it into the space of pure love to be cleared, and then fill it back up with love. Don't leave any holes empty. Just let love, which is that purest source, go in and fill it up. You could say it fills up with your authentic self. You could say it fills up with love. You follow you. And you can just go through and do some gentle clearing, and it's effective. And if you did that, that's one thing that I've done for myself. Some things are deeper, and that would be something we'd need to sit down and really navigate together to see what that needed to look like. And sometimes there's something, if you feel it and you're going, why won't it leave? Sometimes there's something that needs to go first. So if it's not moving, then you can sit with the question, okay, is there something deeper that I'm ready to understand? And then be open to see, hear, know what you're ready to hear. That's how this often works. The freezing is an effect. There's a trauma triggering the freeze reaction in you, if this is your personal story, Michelle. So cognitive dissonance and functional freeze. Yeah, there's something that's pushing a button for you. I worked with a gentleman and an adult man who had an absolute one of these types of reactions when it came to mice. And it shifted into this space. And he's done work around it. He's tried to, he's done a lot of self-help work and a lot of personal, brain set work and so on. But it wasn't getting, for this incident, it wasn't getting down to the root of it. And it just freaked him out when he'd hear a mouse. So he worked with me, and we go, okay, it wasn't even about mice. That's what's interesting. Often the thing that will cause us to freeze isn't even the real root. So let's get down to where it is. It was something I don't even know. And sometimes we don't know, and it's fine. It means guidance doesn't need us to know. But we can go into where the body's holding on to that root. It was something that he was genetically given that was ready for him. He signed up to heal that. And so when we healed that, when we shifted the root, and we both don't know, he didn't know. It's like, well, then we weren't supposed to know, but we healed and shifted the energy in that root. And he's mice and him are not best friends, but that freeze, and I don't say this disrespectful, but just a over the top reaction, like he knew this was over the top, went away. So we can shift these things. We can shift these things. Let's see, how can we get in contact with you to see if we can? Okay, so how to find me. Reach out to me. You can send me an email at janelle@janelleray.com. My email is janelle@janelleray.com.
You want to type that in the chat for
I
us?
should, yeah, I could do that. Let me get that in there. That's the easiest. And then we can just set up a conversation.
Maybe put your website in there too.
Okay.
Can I respond to Michelle?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's in the chat, guys.
so Michelle, one of the things that I've learned to do. I'm also certified in positive psychology, and I really focus on like beliefs, the beliefs that are behind some of these things. And, Janelle has spoke throughout this presentation about trauma. And, even though some people may not have like identified that they had any trauma, it doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, the word trauma can mean so many different things. You could put the word micro in front of the word trauma, and you could have experienced something where, like how I did when I was growing up, where, for instance, if I didn't do well on a homework assignment, my parents would say, "You're doing it all wrong." So at a young age, I developed a belief I'm not good enough, right? So in my subconscious, I basically developed these beliefs that I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? I did something wrong. Why don't people like me? And I kind of had to, as I, grew up, I had to shift some of those things, realize where they're coming from, and also understand my brain physiology. I really didn't understand the fight, flight, and freeze mechanism. I didn't understand about the prefrontal cortex, that's my rational thinking system. I didn't really know, nobody ever taught me about what thinking traps are, where you're jumping to conclusions, you're mind reading, you're maximizing, you're minimizing, you're generalizing, you're externalizing, you're personalizing. There's a bunch of these different things that we do that we subconsciously are doing that are all tied to some of the actions that kind of we perform, on a day-to-day basis, which are really called habits. So we've developed some of these habits, which a habit is a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue is always going to stay the same. The routine is what you're doing, and then the reward is either going to be good or it's going to be better. So I had to like learn how to shift, number one, how to reverse and understand some of the things that cause these little micro traumas, and most importantly, make a decision that they weren't facts, that my beliefs are tied to my thoughts are tied to my feelings because they produce feelings, my feelings produced an action, and then the action produced a result. And to kind of give you an example would be if I was, as a child, I got bit by a dog, I would believe if nobody desensitized me that, dogs aren't bad, I am going to grow up with the belief that all dogs are bad. And that's going to cause the thought in my brain to be there, which is going to create the feeling when I see a dog of fear. And then the result is I'm going to stay away from the dog, and the action is going to be that I'm going to stay away from the dog. And the result will be, the same situation. Like I can never go over anybody's house who has a dog. Like I can't, and it just perpetuates. So like what you really, and that would be considered a micro trauma, like a PTSD, like you stored your body keeps the score. So it's like, okay, now what do I need to do? I need to change that belief from all dogs are bad to not all dogs are bad, that some dogs are good, but that takes learning how to become your own cognitive based therapist, right? Which is another thing that, you really have to, number one, like change the belief, try to turn that on its head, get to the core of what it is, which Janelle is telling us that we need to do. And then we have to build some tools around that, right? We have to like practice the new belief, because the way the brain works is that you've built this neural pathway that all dogs are bad, right? So to shift that, we have to be around dogs. So slowly but surely, this neural pathway that is like so tight, right? Like it's so tight, slowly has to like get, the synapse, and I'm not going to go into the whole biology of it, but basically this has to like increase or this has to decrease, while this that all dogs are good is becoming the dominant belief, right? Doesn't mean that that dog thing is going to go away, but next time you see a dog, if you sense that fear, because we all get triggered. We have these triggers like when we're tired or we're not feeling well or somebody says something. We have these things that could still trigger that belief. We have the tools where it could say, "Ooh, A thinking trap. I'm jumping to conclusions, okay? Identify the feeling, fear, okay? What is the belief? All dogs are bad. No, they're not. What is the new belief? Cognitive-based therapist. All dogs are bad. What is the evidence for? What is the evidence against? Right? And you have to like use fact-based evidence in order to change like that belief to say, yeah, some dogs are bad. Like I got bit as a child. Yes, that dog was bad. But the other belief is, oh, I pet a dog yesterday and he was fine. I went to a pet store. All the dogs seem kind. So, then you form a new belief, right? Based on those fact-based evidence that you've kind of created from, taking your brain or that thought to court. But this takes practice and it's dependent, like there's people could say, oh, it takes 22 days, 21 days to change or implement a new habit. It takes 66 days. It really depends upon you, right? But this is where kind of like you have to do the work. Like Janelle is saying, like we really have to do the work and it's like diving deep, which can be fearful. But the only way that you're going to actually release these emotions is by using deliberate practice. And that means like setting yourself up with cues, like maybe writing down things on sticky notes, right? To remind you, hanging them up on your mirror, something that'll help you be able to make this new neural pathway, right? To help you, you know, create this to shift the old things that I'm not good enough to, I am worthy, right? So maybe you write, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. And you read that every, like when I was 22 and I started to do this work, I didn't love myself. So I had to create something for me, which I created, which is called the 9 ingredients of love, which are sincerity, courtesy, unselfishness, patience, tolerance, humility, good temper, generosity, and being guileless. I wrote them down, wrote out the definitions, hung it on my refrigerator. So I knew like, because I was going to get food. And I read it every single time until I had to move that from like my head to my heart, like truly believe that, right? But at the same time, I had to do the work to heal the things and all the things and learn all the tools that I'm basically saying here in order for that to totally shift. So it takes time, it takes work, but the only way you're going to get it done is by doing the work. And that's
The
all.
first step to healing is taking that step. I'm going to go back to your dog story, and that in energy intelligence, we would take a look, agree with every step that you gave, that you talked about, Dan. And I would bring people to a step before the dog bite. I would do a step. So I grew up with horses and I was stepped on all the time until I learned to keep my feet out of the way. Other people have gotten stepped on and are afraid to walk next to a horse. I got stepped on and I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn to keep my feet out of the way and I'm going to teach you to keep away from my feet. Perspective. I'm not saying either of them are correct. I'm saying perspective. The dog bit me. Why was one person able to be stepped on and not be afraid, and the other person stepped on and is afraid? The dog bit me. Why did I perceive that then? Why did I interpret that as all dogs would bite me? Not a guilt shame statement. It's a curiosity statement. There's a perspective, as there's a root to that why. Why did I interpret that? So in shifting and starting the work to rewire that thinking, like Dan was sharing with us, thank you, Dan, to rewire that. If we get even deeper and say, if we take a step before that and go, interesting that I perceived it that way. I want to heal that root. I want to heal that root. Linda. Thank you, Linda. Awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
See you again. Bye. So just that's the point. That's my conversation for today. It's like, get curious about why that belief existed in the first place. Why? Yeah. And at that level, if we shift and are open to a new perspective and we heal this energy there, we shift the energy there, then stepping into what the rewire, because the brain has a pattern. We are physical beings, we have patterns. So setting up a system like Dan shared with us that help us shift will shift so much quicker.
I just have one question I'd like to ask. What you guys are both saying is great. Changing your perspective can do so much when helping stuck in like bad neural pathways. But my question for you, Janelle, you said some stuff about energy, and I was just wondering if you have any experience with maybe helping somebody. Uh, let's see how I would say it. Maybe fix their energy for protection,
Absolutely.
like especially during sleep. Is that
Yeah,
making sense?
totally makes sleep sense. And especially during sleep, because there's reasons.
Oh,
When
I
we're
know the reasons.
Oh, you know the reasons. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was wondering, that's what I'm looking for help for.
Yes. Yes. We can get down to the why it's able to be in your space anyway.
Yeah. Well, I
'Cause
kind of know
energy
that a little
and
bit.
you okay, so you know where we'd start to work. We'd need to work where you know we need to work. We'd start there and
All
we
right.
would shift there. And then we would take, and there's, depending on what you would tell me, because I don't know, there's different scenarios, but there's very effective ways we can set protection around us, that we can shift anything that you're describing. You know what's in what the scenario is, that negative thing that you're experiencing, that can be totally changed and shifted. Yeah.
All right. Well, I got your email, so I will reach out to you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You bet. You bet, Mia. Holding love around you. You gave me a dose of what you experienced there. And I went, okay, sister, we'll hold some space around you. Okay. I
All
look
right.
forward
I'll
to,
probably wait a couple days, but I will email you.
okay. I'll be looking for it. I'll be
All right.
looking.
I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later.
I'm so glad you. Any other questions or comments or observations before we call it a wrap? You guys were amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Janelle. I really appreciate it. Would love to have you back again.
Oh yeah, this is so fun. You all are amazing.
Yeah, any other comments, questions, queries from the three people who are still here? If not, we will give you 16 minutes back in your day. I know for you, it'll be 5:15 for you. It's 8:15 for me.
I know you guys are really wrapping it up. You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is recorded, so the recording will be in the chat in the event tomorrow for people who weren't able to attend, or if you want to go back and rewatch it. And I will make sure, Janelle, that I send you the link as well.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening and take care.
Take care, all.
All right, take care, Janelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, bye.